Brighty of the Grand Canyon, alone with the night. Snow, never-ending snow, wave on wave it sifted down, slantwise and spirally, dusting its fine white powder over the kaibab forest. Morning came, and night, and morning again, and still it fell. Stealthily the white mass crept up the sides of the house. It piled thickly against the window, filling the space between the bars, blocking out the light. The three creatures were buried alive by the gray-white mass that wheeled out of the sky and made night of day. The cupboard now was completely bare except for the useless bag of seeds. Brighty alone had something to eat, but there was a hollowness inside him that the bitter bark could not fill. He drew away to himself. By day he took refuge in the darkness of the salt house, and there he stayed, dozing some, nibbling some on the logs, and licking the salt for comfort. But mostly he stood in a stupor, head down, tail tucked in. Only at nightfall did he come out of his hermitage and join the others at the fireside. Then, with dark eyes climbing the ladder to the hole in the ceiling, he brayed to the night. It was as if he saw a sky with moon and stars instead of black emptiness. The first time Homer heard him, his voice fell to an odd whisper. "I've a ghostly feeling," he said, "that Bright Angel's sending off some kind of message." The dire sound and the regularity made Iron's flesh creep, for each evening as the bray started up he would take out his watch and check the time. And each evening it showed exactly 5 o'clock. Shaking his head, he would slide the key into the face of the watch and slowly wind while Brighty's cry faded away. "Who you figger broom-tailed call to?" Irons asked one night as he returned the watch to his pocket. Homer's eyes grew big. "Could be the living," he said, "or could be the dead." "Like, for instance?" "Like an old prospector he used to know, or maybe Uncle Jimmy Owen." Quick hatred leaped in Iron's eyes. His fist swung out and struck Homer a blow that sent him sprawling across the floorboards. The boy was too stunned to move. He watched in terror as Irons came slowly toward him, sharp canine teeth biting down on his words. "Don't mention neither of them two again. Never." There was a death-like silence as Brighty slow-footed his way to the salt house, and the two men were alone with the night. Alone in the forest with the snow tightening around them, and no sound but Brighty gnawing on the wood, stripping, grinding it, and then silence again, and the watch, ticking, ticking, ticking. The two occupants had divided the room as sharply as if barbed wire reached across the middle of it. The half nearer the fire belonged to Irons, the half nearer the salt house to Homer. Now Homer huddled far into his corner, nursing his chin and his burning feet by turns. He tried to sleep, but his ear refused to shut out the relentless ping of the seconds. Suddenly he leaped up and ran into the salt house, coming out with a roll of wire and a piece of old canvas. A cold glint came into Iron's eyes. "What you doin'? Figuring on escaping alone, kid?" Homer turned a brave face to the man. "No, no. I'll make you a pair, too." "Pair of what? Wings?" "Snowshoes." Iron's hollow laugh shattered the quiet. He sat cross-legged in his blanket to watch, his narrowed eyes on Homer's fingers. The boy talked nervously as he shaped the wire into frames. "I'll make 'em beaver-tail style. No, they'd be too hard to handle in deep snow. I'll make 'em like a bear's paw." When 4 frames were roughly shaped, he began tearing the canvas into strips for the webbing. But the effort exhausted him, and he fell back on his blankets, too tired to go on. By now Irons had fallen asleep sitting up, chin resting on his chest, and unkempt hair hiding his eyes. Homer was relieved to be free of their fixed gaze. He tried to sleep too, one hand tucked inside his shirt for warmth, the other on the hilt of his hunting knife. Brighty slipped up, unheard, and nosed him. Homer reached out to stroke the shaggy neck, and so, comforting each other, they both dropped off to sleep. Mist wrapped itself about the house, and there was a heavy and ominous silence within. Terror shot through Iron's dreams. "Gotta get out of this coffin," he mumbled. Windows blocked, doors blocked, soon the window upstairs, no food left, starving, starving. Listen, the watch. It knows more than it tells. Break it, break it, break it. Homer, worn out with fatigue, slept on while the frantic voice kept talking to itself. Starving, starving. Gotta get out of here. Listen, it's a time clock. Tick, tick, tick. It knows the hour of death. Closer, closer. The clock's going off. Break it. Irons woke to his own voice. Drenched in sweat, he threw off his blanket and picked up a chip of wood, lighting it for a torch. He saw that the boy still slept, lying against Brighty. His eyes studied the burro as if he had never seen him before, weighing the ounces of meat on the ribs, counting the mouthfuls. He used the chip as a poker to stir the fire, then with sneaking feet crept across the room, his trigger finger working. The thump of a loose floorboard woke Homer. "Don't move, kid." Iron's voice was coldly quiet. "Else I'll have me 2 carcasses to stew." A slow, sickening horror came into the boy's face as he caught the meaning of the words. The cold voice went on. "Name a bright angel's going to fit now. Not much meat, tough and stringy, but I'm—" He brought the gun to his shoulder and pointed at the wide space between Brighty's eyes. Then a small sound arrested him. Without his willing it, the hand that held the rifle froze.